The golden hour light filtered through the tall windows of Meridian's, one of the city's most exclusive restaurants, as 35-year-old Jonathan Clark sat across from his blind date, struggling to maintain polite conversation. At the neighboring table, 27-year-old Grace Parker was doing her best to keep her 3-year-old daughter Lily entertained with quiet activities while they waited for their simple dinner order. Grace had saved for 2 months to bring Lily here for her birthday, wanting to give her daughter one special evening in a beautiful place. She wore her best cream-colored sweater and had carefully styled her honey blonde hair, hoping to create a memory that would last long after their modest savings were spent on rent and groceries again. Jonathan's date, Miranda, was everything that looked perfect on paper, successful, beautiful, impeccably dressed. But as the evening progressed, he found himself increasingly uncomfortable with her treatment of the restaurant staff and her dismissive comments about the other diners. "I can't believe they let just anyone in here now," Miranda said, glancing pointedly at Grace and Lily's table. "That child is going to start crying any minute and ruin everyone's evening." Jonathan followed her gaze and saw a young mother gently helping her daughter color in a small book, both of them clearly making an effort to be considerate of other diners. There was something about the care with which the woman interacted with her child that struck him as genuinely beautiful. "They seem perfectly well behaved to me," Jonathan replied quietly. "Please," Miranda continued, her voice carrying across the restaurant. "Single mothers have no business bringing children to places like this. If you can't afford a babysitter, you shouldn't be dining somewhere respectable." Grace heard every word, her cheeks flushing with embarrassment as other diners began to look in their direction. Lily, sensing her mother's distress, looked up from her coloring with concern. "Mama, are we doing something wrong?" Lily whispered. "No, sweetheart," Grace said softly, though her voice trembled slightly. "We're not doing anything wrong." Jonathan felt anger rise in his chest at Miranda's cruelty. "That's enough," he said firmly. "There's no reason to speak that way about anyone." "Oh, please," Miranda laughed. "Don't tell me you're going to be one of those bleeding heart types. I thought you were supposed to be successful." What Miranda didn't know was that Jonathan Clark was indeed successful. As the founder and CEO of Clark Industries, a technology company worth over $50 million, he had built his fortune from nothing. More importantly, he had grown up with a single mother who had worked multiple jobs to give him opportunities. And Miranda's words cut deeply into memories of his own childhood. "You know what?" Jonathan said, standing up from the table. "I think this evening is over." "Excuse me?" Miranda looked shocked. "You're ending our date because I pointed out that some people don't know their place?" "I'm ending our date because you've shown me exactly who you are. And it's not someone I want to spend another minute with." Jonathan left money on the table to cover their barely touched meals and walked away. But instead of leaving the restaurant, he found himself approaching Grace's table. "Excuse me," he said gently. "I couldn't help but overhear what happened. I wanted to apologize for my companion's rudeness." Grace looked up at him with surprise, taking in his kind brown eyes and genuine expression of concern. "You don't need to apologize for someone else's behavior." "Maybe not," Jonathan said. "But I wanted you to know that what she said was completely inappropriate and not reflective of how most people feel." Lily looked up at this tall man with curious eyes. "Are you mad at the mean lady too?" Jonathan crouched down to Lily's level with a gentle smile. "I was disappointed in her, yes, but I'm much more interested in your artwork. What are you coloring?" "It's a dragon," Lily said proudly, showing him her coloring book. "But it's a nice dragon. It helps people instead of being scary." "That's a wonderful kind of dragon to draw," Jonathan said. "I think the world needs more helpful dragons." Grace watched this exchange with growing amazement. Here was a stranger who had not only defended them, but was now taking the time to genuinely engage with her daughter. "I'm Jonathan," he said, extending his hand to Grace. "And I was wondering if you and Lily would mind if I joined you for dinner. I seem to have found myself without dining plans for the evening." Grace hesitated, unsure of this man's motivations. "That's very kind, but we don't want to impose on your evening." "You wouldn't be imposing," Jonathan said sincerely. "To be honest, I'd much rather spend my evening with people who appreciate kindness than someone who clearly doesn't. Over the next 2 hours, Jonathan discovered something he hadn't expected to find: genuine connection. Grace was intelligent, thoughtful, and clearly devoted to her daughter. She worked as a graphic designer for a small marketing firm, taking on freelance projects in the evenings to make ends meet after Lily's father had abandoned them when Lily was barely a year old. Lily was delightful, chattering about her favorite books and showing Jonathan how she could count to 20 in both English and Spanish, which Grace had been teaching her. "Mama speaks lots of languages," Lily said proudly. "She's really smart." "I can see that," Jonathan replied, smiling at Grace's modest embarrassment. "What other languages do you speak?" "Just Spanish and a little French," Grace said. "I studied international business in college before life took a different direction." "Life has a way of doing that," Jonathan said gently. "But it sounds like it led you to something pretty wonderful," he added, nodding toward Lily. As the evening progressed, Jonathan found himself drawn not just to Grace's beauty, but to her character. She was patient with Lily, grateful to the waitstaff, and possessed a quiet strength that spoke of someone who had faced real challenges and emerged with her kindness intact. When it came time to pay the check, Jonathan discreetly handled the entire bill, despite Grace's protests. "Please," she said, "let me at least pay for our portion. This was supposed to be Lily's birthday dinner." "It's Lily's birthday?" Jonathan looked delighted. "Then this is definitely my treat. Happy birthday, Lily." Lily beamed at the attention. "I'm 3 now?" "That's this many!" She held up 3 fingers proudly. 3 is a very important age, Jonathan said seriously. "That's when you start having the best adventures." As they prepared to leave, Jonathan found himself reluctant to see the evening end. "Grace, I know this might seem forward, but would you and Lily like to have dinner again sometime? Maybe somewhere with even better coloring opportunities?" Grace looked at him with uncertainty. "Jonathan, you seem like a wonderful person, but I need to be honest about my situation. I'm a single mother with very limited resources and not much time for dating. I don't want you to have unrealistic expectations." "My only expectation," Jonathan said gently, "is that I'd like to get to know you and Lily better. I'm not looking for anything complicated or demanding. I'm just hoping to spend time with 2 people who made this evening infinitely better than it was supposed to be." 6 months later, Grace stood in the kitchen of Jonathan's downtown penthouse, helping Lily frost cupcakes for her preschool class while Jonathan worked at his laptop nearby. The apartment had been transformed from a bachelor's showcase into a warm family home, with Lily's artwork decorating the refrigerator and children's books scattered across the coffee table. Grace had initially resisted Jonathan's help with everything from groceries to Lily's preschool tuition, but he had patiently shown her that love sometimes means allowing someone to care for you, not just caring for others. Her freelance graphic design work had evolved into a full-time position with Clark Industries, where her creativity and attention to detail had made her invaluable to their marketing team. More importantly, the steady income and benefits had given her a security she had never known as a single mother. "Mama," Lily said, carefully placing sprinkles on her cupcake, "can Jonathan come to my preschool party?" "If he wants to," Grace replied, looking over at Jonathan, who had already closed his laptop and was approaching their little baking station. "I wouldn't miss it," Jonathan said, wrapping his arms around both of them. "Although I think these cupcakes might be too beautiful to eat." "That's silly," Lily giggled. "Food is supposed to be eaten. But first, you have to admire it and say thank you to the people who made it." Jonathan looked at Grace over Lily's head, marveling at this child's wisdom and the woman who was raising her with such thoughtfulness and grace. "You're absolutely right, Lily," he said. "Thank you both for making something beautiful." The restaurant where they had first met became their anniversary tradition, but now they returned not as strangers brought together by circumstance, but as a family choosing to celebrate the moment when kindness had triumphed over cruelty and love had grown from the simple decision to see the best in each other. Miranda's cruel words, intended to diminish and hurt, had instead revealed Jonathan's character and created the opening for a love story that neither Grace nor Jonathan could have imagined. Sometimes the worst behavior from others serves to highlight the best behavior in the people who truly matter. Grace's small savings account, once stretched thin by the desire to give Lily one special evening, had led to a lifetime of special evenings with a man who understood that true wealth was measured not in bank accounts, but in the depth of connection between people who choose to lift each other up. And Lily, now 4 and wise beyond her years, would often tell her preschool friends that the best things in life happen when you're brave enough to be kind, even when other people aren't. Her helpful dragon drawings now decorated not just coloring books, but the walls of Jonathan's office, reminding him daily that the most successful ventures are built on the foundation of caring for others. The evening that had begun with cruelty and embarrassment had become the origin story of a family built on respect, kindness, and the understanding that love often arrives disguised as a rescue, when someone chooses to stand up for what's right rather than what's convenient. If this story reminded you that defending others' dignity often opens the door to unexpected blessings in our own lives, please give it a like and share it with someone who might need this message. Subscribe for more stories about how standing up to unkindness can lead to beautiful connections. And please comment below about a time when someone defended you when you couldn't defend yourself, or when standing up for others led to something meaningful in your life. Your story might inspire someone else to choose courage and kindness today.